How is Georgia's dominant run right now affecting recruiting? That's what I'm going to talk about in this video. Driving home from Knoxville, Tennessee, just saw Georgia blow out the Vols in Neyland Stadium. And I got this idea for two reasons. Number one, I was on the field prior to the game, and this was one of Tennessee's biggest recruiting weekends of the year. I was down there, Tennessee target here, Tennessee target there. It was a big deal that I got to watch Georgia just pound them into the ground for 3 hours. So I thought that was slightly funny, and I do want to talk about recruiting in a broader sense in just a minute, but David Cooper, who is the director of recruiting and player relations, tweeted last night, "You can't negatively recruit against us and not expect this outcome." It's a great double negative, but he's right in the sense that there are a lot of teams, especially recruiting against Brian McClendon in the wide receiver room. Georgia's not getting a lot of five-star receivers right now because, you know, across the country in high schools and just in a general sense on the recruiting trail, Georgia's still a run-heavy type of team that is not going to get receivers to the NFL, even though a lot of receivers do get drafted out of Georgia. But it really doesn't matter. But when you see guys like Marcus Rosemy-Jacksaint have somewhat of a coming out party, he's been good for a while, but he's never caught 7 or 8 passes like that and had 2 touchdowns. Dylan Bell, former 3-star. I tell you what, Kirby Smart and the staff loves it when Dylan Bell makes plays. That's a 3-star kid that got out of Houston, was not highly rated, and they've turned him into a major weapon for, a top 3 offense in college football. He's a playmaker. He's a difference maker. We saw it last night against the Vols. Throw it for a touchdown. He can run for touchdowns. He can, catch the ball. And when he catches the ball, he's a running back. Anyway, Dylan Bell's very good, but this all goes back to recruiting those type of 3-stars, developing them into the player they think they can be, and they go out and they make plays. Chaz Chambliss is another guy who is not super highly recruited or ranked, but he's a 4-star, and he was towards the bottom of Georgia's class. I think that was the 21 class. But right now in this current cycle, Georgia's got the number 1 class. It's very offensive line, defensive line heavy. Georgia's not going to ever have a problem getting offensive and defensive linemen. They're going to get a lot more in the 25 class too. There's just guys everywhere, current juniors, who are looking at Georgia, but they're loading up on the defensive line and offensive line. They've got 3 really good linebackers coming in again. They've got some playmakers in the secondary, 2 quarterbacks, one of them very, very good. They're both very good, but one of them is one of the top ranked, of course, Dylan Raiola. There's a wreck up ahead. That's why I lost my focus a little bit. I've got the ADD too, but, got to watch out for your surroundings out here on a beautiful Sunday morning. But I'm telling you right now, these recruits love what's happening. The current guys that are committed and on board, they know what this program is doing. They know the trajectory. It could still keep going like this. This program, there's no ceiling. There's no ceiling. They can be as good as they want, and basically every other program kind of has a ceiling. Alabama doesn't have a ceiling. Georgia obviously doesn't have a ceiling. They could have. The 3-peat is possible. The 3-peat is very possible after what we saw against Tennessee. But it goes back to recruiting, and it goes back to the staff. The best staff in college football. Mike Bobo is loving life right now. Loving life. He's got a guy who can really make big-time throws in Carson Beck, who's got a great offensive line, who's got a stable of backs and receivers. This is the most complete offensive talent that Mike Bobo has ever had at Georgia. He doesn't have a Todd Gurley. And he did have Matthew Stafford, who's more talented, more gifted than Carson Beck, but as a whole, especially the offensive line, Mike Bobo is loving life right now. Glenn Schumann is not going to be at Georgia forever. Georgia fans need to appreciate what he brings to the defense. Will Muschamp is obviously there, and he's got his hand, especially in the secondary. But Glenn Schumann is outstanding, arguably the best coordinator, offense or defensive coordinator in college football. He's going to be a head coach someday, whether it's at a big-time college program or a major defensive coordinator in the NFL. The guy's too smart, But he's got this defense working and getting after it. I don't know what it is about them giving up points on the first drive, but they say, you know what, we'll spot you 7 points. Now it's fair, right? We'll give you 7 points. Now let's get after it. And they chomp down. I mean, the bulldog itself as a dog, an animal, is kind of lazy and kind of big and fat and slow. This bulldog defense is kind of the opposite. It has been the past 3 years now, but they tackled really well for 99% of the game. Tyke Smith was very good. You know, we're coming right off the game, so I haven't really had a chance yet to watch any sort of highlights or really dig deep into the film. As soon as the game ends, we record, we get home, we try to sleep, we wake up, we try to, you know, create content, because the Dogs are 11-0. They're the #1 team in college football, and they're so much better than Tennessee and Florida. We were talking to a guy we know who covers Tennessee, few guys at this game, always good to see them, but they said, it's, you know, every year it's the same. Georgia has beat Tennessee kind of soundly for the past 6-7 years now. Since 2017 in Neyland Stadium, the game's been the exact same. It's kind of been a pounding. You can't call them a statement win when you do it every year. Now, normally, you know, 15 years ago, oh, we got a phone down. We got a phone down. We're all right. We're all right. We're going to get back at it. We're good. We're good. Let's roll. What was I saying? Yeah, back in the Mark Richt days, Georgia beats Tennessee by 20, and it's just, I mean, life couldn't be better, right? Now it's the standard. They talk about the standard all the time. The standard is beating Tennessee's brains in every year now. Same with Florida. Same with Auburn, except for this year. You know, Georgia got a fight from Auburn and Missouri and South Carolina. And normally they get a fight from Kentucky, but in Athens, that was no fight. Georgia may never lose to Kentucky again, and it's going to take a lot for Tennessee and Florida to come anywhere near Georgia. The program is just turning at a level I don't think I've ever seen in my lifetime, just watching college football my whole life. The Alabama dynasty has been what it has been. That's probably the best 10, 15 year stretch, right? But as far as a 3-year stretch in college football, this is it. This is the standard. 28 straight wins. It goes back to recruiting. It goes back to this connected staff. And these guys are friends. They work together. They bounce ideas off each other all day long. They have so much experience. And they have built a program from within. And that's what you have to do first. You have to build that identity, that winning culture. And you do it on the recruiting trail. You do it by getting better players. Georgia has better players than everyone. We'll see if they have better players against Alabama. I think they do, top to bottom. And they've got a staff that is getting them better. They're elite at getting better. That's a phrase, that's a theme we heard about earlier in the season. And they're getting better and better. That could have been their best performance of the season so far last night in Knoxville. And that's saying a lot, because they've started to just kind of crush teams over and over. And it doesn't look like they're slowing down. There's no reason for them to slow down. Carson Beck continues to play well. When Ladd McConkey is healthy, back and healthy, he's another difference maker that they just didn't even need against Tennessee. Keeping Kendall Milton healthy is going to be key. That guy is a true difference maker. I don't know if we're going to see that type of performance from Dylan Bell and Marcus Rosemary-Jackson again, but every once in a while, it could. Why not? Dominic Lovett could have a breakout game next. Brock Bauer still has the ability to take over games. The weapons are there. The pieces are there. It could be a special season. But as far as recruiting goes, these kids across the country know what's going on, especially in that 2025 class. I know I kind of rambled from the original video of what I tried to start with, and I can always talk recruiting in another video and more in depth, but these kids, these big-time prospects, especially the ones committed, know how special it is right now in Athens. They can't wait to be a part of it. Georgia's just going and apple picking their guys. They're not missing many on the recruiting trail, but at wide receiver specifically, if you're a big-time wide receiver, you can go to Georgia and make plays. We've seen it happen. We've seen freshman receivers play at Georgia, not necessarily this year, but in the past. And that narrative might go away a little sooner than later when you've got guys like Dylan Bill and Marcus Rosemy, Jack Saint stepping up, and a lot of guys catching, 7-8 passes, and it helps when you got a quarterback like Dylan Raiola and Ryan Puglisi coming in too. So that's what it is. But as the team continues to play well, recruiting's not going down anytime soon. Basically what I'm trying to say. Thanks for watching this video. Really appreciate it. We've got more coming this week. Sign up to our free newsletter. That link is down below. And really appreciate it. See you on the website.